London didn't become a global city overnight. It grew out of a mix of narrow, winding streets, timber, framed houses, bustling markets, crowded docks, royal ambitions, theaters, devastating fires, and bold cultural movements. In this video, we walk through that early history, one image at a time, with the help of AI reconstructions that bring long-lost scenes back to life. London in 1600 was still largely medieval in structure, but the city was alive with commerce and daily life. The Thames riverbanks were lined with wooden docks where small cargo boats carried timber, wool, grain, and imported goods from Europe and the Caribbean. Merchants shouted prices in crowded markets while laborers and artisans moved along cobblestone streets, carrying barrels and goods. Narrow alleys and small courtyards gave the city a dense yet human feel, shaped by trade, tradition, and the ever-present river. In 1601, the royal court began exerting more influence over urban development. Timber, framed houses leaned over narrow streets, with overhanging upper floors creating shadows across the cobblestones. Church bells rang from St. Paul's Cathedral, which dominated the skyline before its later rebuild. Life moved at a steady pace, guided by markets, workshops, and river trade. By 1605, the city was shaken by the Gunpowder Plot. The foiled attempt to destroy Parliament and King James I highlighted London's political importance. Streets remained crowded. Merchants continued trading, and children still played in alleys, while boats moved slowly along the Thames. Even in moments of fear, the rhythm of daily life endured. London in 1613 saw the rise of theaters, including the Globe Theatre. This illustration shows the bustling Bankside district, filled with patrons arriving to watch performances. Timbered theaters stood alongside warehouses and wharves, reflecting a city where culture and commerce intertwined. Street vendors sold snacks, children ran through narrow lanes, and the sounds of music and chatter filled the air. By 1625, London had expanded northward and eastward, beyond the old city walls. The river remained central to trade, with small ships carrying goods to and from the docks. Markets like Cheapside were crowded with merchants, while workshops and guild halls lined the streets. Neighborhoods grew denser, but the city still retained narrow alleys and timber, framed homes that reflected its medieval roots. In 1633, St. Paul's Cathedral became a center of civic and religious life. Its spire rose above the low rooftops, visible from the bustling wharves and streets. Children played in open squares, merchants traded goods along crowded lanes, and the city's pulse moved in rhythm with commerce, religion, and social life. By 1642, London was on the brink of civil conflict. The outbreak of the English Civil War brought tension to the streets. Guards patrolled key buildings, while citizens witnessed soldiers marching along the Thames. Markets and workshops still operated, but fear lingered. In some neighborhoods, homes were fortified, and small boats carried messages and supplies up and down the river. During the 1649 execution of Charles I, crowds gathered near Westminster to witness the historic event. Merchants and artisans adapted, markets remained active, and the Thames continued to pulse with trade. Life in London showed resilience, even amid political turmoil. By 1660, with the restoration of Charles II, the city experienced a cultural revival. Coffee houses became centers of conversation, news, and trade. Theater thrived once more, with indoor playhouses lighting the streets of the city. The river remained crowded with cargo boats, ferries, and passenger vessels, reflecting the city's growing global connections. In 1666, the Great Fire of London reshaped the city completely. The fire began in a bakery on Pudding Lane and spread through timber-framed houses and narrow streets. Roofs collapsed, walls crumbled, and smoke poured into the sky. This illustration captures the early chaos, people fleeing, carts carrying possessions, and boats gathering along the Thames to escape the flames. The city's core was destroyed, but its spirit endured. After the fire between 1667 and 1670, London began rebuilding with brick and stone. Streets were widened, new buildings were designed with fire safety in mind, and the river remained central to life and trade. The Reconstruction gave rise to modern urban planning, while the old alleys and timber homes gradually disappeared. The city learned to balance tradition with progress. By the 1680s, London had not only rebuilt but expanded its influence. Coffee houses like those in Exchange Alley became hubs for merchants and financiers. The docks along the Thames were alive with ships arriving from the Americas, Europe, and Africa, bringing goods and immigrants that shaped the city's character. Markets thrived in Leadenhall and Covent Garden, and public squares became spaces for trade, announcements, and social gatherings. In 1694, the Bank of England was established, cementing London's role as a global financial center. The streets around the Royal Exchange buzzed with merchants and financiers, while neighborhoods like Whitechapel and Southwark housed laborers and artisans. The Thames remained crowded with boats, markets remained lively, and the city's growth in size, wealth, and influence continued. By the end of the century, London had transformed into a city of commerce, culture, and ambition. The docks, markets, theaters, Sainter Statuary, Paul's Spire, widened streets, and resilient neighborhoods all reflected the city's evolution. Despite fires, political upheaval, and disease, London's character endured, paving the way for the global metropolis it would become in the 18th century. Looking back at London in the 1600s, it's easy to see how every street, market, theater, and river scene tells a story of ambition, resilience, and growth. The city constantly reinvented itself while retaining the spirit of its medieval roots, creating a foundation that would support centuries of expansion and influence.